We're here today with Willy and Wally of GTT, Glass Torch Technologies. So I'm assuming of GTT is not your last name. What is your actual last name?
Last name is Horn, H-O-R-N. I'm Willy, he's Wally.
Yep.
Yep.
And
We're identical twins.
Identical twins, that was
Yep.
my next question.
Yep.
Okay.
So when I hit him, I feel it.
Who's the older one?
I am.
You are?
About 7 minutes. Or,
7 minutes.
Yeah.
But I'm the smarter one.
He thinks he is.
So, which came first in terms of like your life, glass work or machining?
Me was machining.
Yeah. Me, I worked for a company. A lot of people know who I used to work for, and I started in '78, and till 1991, got laid off in 1991, and so did he.
At the same
At
time.
the same
Okay.
time. Yeah.
Okay.
So then once we got laid off, we semi-retired and kind of tried to figure out what we were going to do. And we decided after we were out, we're like, oh man, if we, work for anybody else again,
That could happen
that
to us
could
again.
happen again, where we, you're working for somebody, you get kicked out, your job's ended, and next thing is like you go back to another job. Could that happen again? So we thought, well,
We started
Yeah.
our own business.
Yeah, it's
and
like
we
if-
started landscaping.
yeah, we used to hang down around this one farm fishing. He had a big pond and stuff, and what we would do, talk to the farmer a lot and about all kinds of stuff, everything under the sun, and he told us, he goes, if you work as hard for yourself as for whoever you worked for, he goes, you should be able to make it. And then on that, he told us to buy a Bobcat skid loader and start a little landscape company. And so off we go. We took his advice, got the little Bobcat loader.
And you guys did that together?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we started a little landscape company, and
We did excavating, and then we started doing koi ponds.
we did a lot of stuff like right away from 1990. I think we started in like 93, end of
Two.
92. I think we started
Yeah.
our landscape company up because we were collecting for a while, and then we started our landscape company, got that started. We did like light excavating, general like landscaping, doing lawns, grading them, seeding them, and
Then
So you guys have been doing business together like your whole lives, basically. This has just been like a thing. That's,
pretty many years.
Yeah.
Was there like a first business? Was there like a Willy and Wally lemonade stand or something like that?
No.
Or
No, not really.
no,
No.
there wasn't. No.
so the landscaping
Well, we did
one was like the
everything
first
together,
one.
Though.
Oh, yeah.
We rode dirt bikes together and fished and
Yeah.
everything together all the time.
Yeah, hiking mountains a
Yeah.
lot, and did a lot of things in our past before, and always together. Yeah.
Yeah.
always,
Yeah.
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 I mean, it seems like a big jump from like mountain men to machining. Like what? Like what was the first time you like saw machining and you were like, I want to do that?
I took that in tech school.
Okay.
I was,
Yeah.
I did machining in tech.
Yeah, I was in tech. I was masonry is what I did, but he was took up machining in there, and then when we got out of school, he actually ended up working for 2 or 3 machine shops.
Yeah.
Just doing stuff, like not real hardcore machining, but he was around it and doing second ops work on
I
stuff.
knew enough to
Knew enough to be dangerous.
be dangerous.
Yeah. And, so when did glass and fire and torches kind of mix with machining?
That's your
Well-
thing. Yeah.
Well, I used to work for. I used to build torches. I did a lot of things, mercury and things like that, all kinds of stuff there. But I also mainly built torches there from, I started in 1978 and I went till about 1983 when I finally got into actually building them from start to finish, and then all the way till 91 till I got laid off. And he also worked there, I think from 1987 till 91. He got laid off the same time I did. So once we were basically laid off, like I said, we semi-retired and just kind of
Recovered from what happened.
yeah, try to figure out what we were going to do, you know. And then once we decided, you know, how expendable we were, we decided never again would we work for anybody again, and we decided we were going to dig in and do something for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we started with, I knew stuff about torches, and the thing is with landscaping, the problem was it was seasonal work. So the problem we had was, you know, in the summertime, you know, you're working, making your money, storing it up for the winter time, you know, like a squirrel storing up nuts so you can survive through the winter time and stuff. And then the snow's coming down, ice is forming in the winter. And I told my brother, you know, I said, you know, I liked what I used to do. And I said, you know, maybe we ought to try something different, you know. I knew flames. I knew differences, like different types of torches that were out there on the market. I knew the types of flame characteristics and stuff. And I told my brother, I said, you know, maybe there's more, something else. And the way we went at it was that if we couldn't build something totally different than what existed, we would build nothing at all. So that's the way we went into it. I could have easily have built Bethlehem torches. I could have easily have built Carlisle's, Nortel's, any torch, I could have built it. And I decided, you know, I told my brother, let's try to figure out something totally different. And it was really interesting because then we started like playing around, prototyping. We bought a little South Bend lathe, and we had a little Harbor Freight drill press that doubled as a mill and did things that drill press should have never did. But it did it. You know, we made it work. And so anyway, what ended up happening is we started prototyping and stuff.
Oh,
and
he had the idea of what he wanted to do.
The flame I was looking for. I knew kind of what I wanted.
Okay, so this flame, how did this flame come to you? Was it something like, it didn't exist because you hadn't built it yet? How did you know of it?
Well,
it was in you in some way. Like,
right.
Where did that come from?
I knew the differences of surface mix and premix, and I liked the characters of premix, but I didn't, you know, the drawbacks of premix, they're harsh and stuff like that. You know, there's a lot of things that have drawbacks with premix, but surface mix are like a softer type flame. So I wanted to try to find this flame that could be a surface mix and imitate a premix type flame.
So it could be soft
So
or
it could go
hard
soft
driving.
to hard driving thrust, very focused type flame. And so it's like kind of a hybrid type of surface
But it still
mix,
had to
but
be
it had to be
100% surface mix.
Yes, surface mix. It could not be premix at all. And so we sat out and started prototyping. And the problem I had was working on, when I was there, was I had a mind block all the time because I thought, well, there's, you know, torch has to be built a certain way, and there
was some dogma around it.
Just in this weird way of thinking that, you know, these are the guidelines you should be within, you know, to build them. And then my brother, not knowing and not being, you know, tainted by, you know,
Thinking outside of the box.
he thought outside the box, and ended up, I would be doing stuff like making parts, and he would look at me and say, you know, like, hey, Dodo, stupid, what are you doing that for? And next thing he'd be like, why don't we do this? This could be more simplified or whatever. And so we pretty much worked together that way. So then ended up, we started making these torches that were just bizarre. I mean, we
had like 25 or 30,
No, it's 35, about
prototypes
35,
before we
yeah.
came up with it. And,
Oh, yeah.
and I didn't know any, I didn't know what, just on his idea I was going off of, I knew what he was looking for, but I came up with it. Even
well,
though
every
a
squirrel
finds a nut.
All right.
So-
quit
So
bragging.
tell me about the moment, like the day
Okay.
when you
Here's-
got it, when you were like,
Okay, all
that
right,
is
all right.
it.
That I can tell you.
Yeah.
Because what ended up happening was we were building these prototypes. So 92, we picked up, started probably late 92 into the beginning of 1993. And we're starting to build different types of things and checking them out. Well, and that flame didn't work, that flame didn't work. And we looked more like a bomb testing site than a torch testing site. Because, I mean, we had, you have some kind of new configuration of a torch, and you're like, wow, is this thing going to go off like Chernobyl or what? You don't know,
When you're testing them, did you like put them behind a blast barrier or
They would be
anything?
in a
Yes.
cement block wall.
Yeah.
And then we would run really long lines to the torch.
So then I
and
have him out there.
Yeah. Whoever
Light-
thought of it had to light it.
Yeah, it's their creation. It's
Yeah.
your baby, man. Here you go. You build it, you light it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we do a coin toss. Heads I win, tails he lose. So a lot of times he was doing lighting the torches. But we had one, I remember, that stood out, that went off pretty good. It sounded like a quarter stick, But no shrapnel flying or anything. But so then what ended up happening was by 93, then that's where we were doing prototyping mainly in the wintertime while we weren't landscaping. And then 93 came and we started, we started landscaping again, and then we went back and, as we were stopping our, winter is coming and stuff, then we decided, okay, we're going to go back into prototyping. But I would never forget Wally. He was the one. We were already into landscaping, and I felt like a spawned out salmon, like I
Yeah,
couldn't make that last run, and it was
gotta
like,
give
I
up.
was just gonna float down the river belly up, and he's like, I got this idea, and I'm like, what? And he's explaining it to me, and then, okay, so I said, you build the parts. I said, I'll put it together. So he's there running around with the hop, skip, and a jump in his shoes, and he's running around all excited, and he builds these parts, and he's explaining how he, what has to be in what order and this and that. So ended up, I'll never forget, we were there, got it built, ran out, outside, we were testing it outside, and we lit it up, and it was a pretty breezy day, I remember, and then we had this third valve to it, and like, what?
When we hit that,
never
we
knew.
didn't know what was going to happen.
We're like, okay, crack that third valve, and next thing, there it is. This flame takes off, and I'm like, as fast as I seen it, I'm like, yeah, this thing has got something to it. And then it had to drive, and even though it was breezy out, the thing was, really stable flame.
Yeah.
So then, after enough testing outside, we decided to take it into our shed, and then put it there, and we're like praying it wouldn't blow up on us inside there, because we were scared, and then next thing, we got that thing running, and it was it. I knew we were on the right track. Then we had to try to dial this thing in and get it all, there was more to it than just finding it. There was more to dial that thing in and figure like all
Perfecting it.
perfection.
Yeah.
And what did the perfection process look like? Like, how did you eventually reach the point where you're like, well, this is done with refining?
Yeah, constantly
Constantly
experimenting
playing
on.
with sizes of tubing, and you know, what makes things tick and what, you know, cause and effects, you know, that's what we were doing.
Yeah.
And
There's a
so,
lot more prototyping on
Yeah.
top of that to get it where we
yeah.
wanted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So we started, believe it or not, we started in our mom's basement, and that's where we began. We called that our subterranean division. And next thing, once we got going, we started getting ready. We had a scientific glass shop where we hooked up with them. We went through a patent attorney, and they did the non-disclosure agreement to do testing for us. And so we went to them with some prototypes of like a Lynx version and what
Like
else
a
do we?
Phantom version.
Yeah, Lynx and a Phantom version. So we started having them do testing, and they were experimenting with leaded glass and soda lime
And quartz.
and quartz and boro. And by the time, over months this took, where we'd go to them and we'd have them do more testing and more testing. And then finally it was by 1994 where in late 94, this guy, you know, after everything was all, you know, done with the patent or the actual non-disclosures and stuff that we had in place, we said, okay, you know, what do you want? You know, we'll build something for you. And he goes, well, I want a center-fired torch, you know, your version. And we said, okay, so we'll do it. And we thought, man, you know, it was a challenge.
That was like impossible.
Yeah,
What do you mean by center fired?
Well, a
two-stage
two-stage torch,
Okay.
like a Mirage.
Okay. So before that, it was just one straight
Yeah, single
burner.
head.
Yeah.
Okay.
Single head.
So the Phantom was just one burner at the
Yeah,
time.
7
Yep.
jet, or like a Phoenix, which was a 19 straight jet, no center fire in it. And then it ended up where he put the challenge to us to build this two-stage torch, and we were like, oh my gosh, you know, that was going to be
We thought it was going to be
to
years.
climb. And
we
so we dug in and we
Burned the
started,
midnight oil and
Yeah.
got it done.
Got it
in
done,
a
and
couple, about 4 or 5 months.
yeah, I'd say about that.
Yeah.
And then we went back to him, and then he was really excited, and so off we go doing the testing. So we built our first Delta torch, Delta size torch, two-stage, and so we went there. This shop didn't really do quartz work at all. They subbed all their quartz work out because they didn't have the like firepower or something to do it, and that's why they subbed their work out a lot. And so there we were. We hooked up on the lathe, getting all ready, and now we got this Delta-sized torch, and off we go. We start doing it. He's doing his test to see what it could do with quartz, and we told him we want to run propane as the fuel, and so we're running propane.
Was he suggesting something else?
Yeah, he said for quartz you got to have hydrogen. We're like telling him no. We said we feel, you know, with the testing we've done with the different types of glass, we had every type of glass you could imagine that we had and were testing in our torches to, you know, for the flame characteristics, you know, the chemistry of the flames. And so what ended up happening was he had a pretty big piece of quartz there. We said, let's go with propane and do the test. And so off we go. He's doing his test and stuff. And one thing was pretty interesting was at one point, he's like just standing there, and we went more by his reaction than what he said. And we were always watching his reactions, how he was reacting to what he was doing, you know. And you could see him getting excited about things. And at one point he stops and he's like standing there. He's like, he goes, look at this. Here we are running quartz with this torch on the lathe. And he goes, holding a normal conversation and listening to the radio.
Yeah, he didn't have all his normal
No,
loud
no.
burners
Usually
and
they have
everything.
the
And
Torches screaming
yeah.
and Yeah,
Yeah,
because
like
they
lake
can't get the
burners
heat
and
out
stuff,
of the
yeah.
other torches to do that, and then they're screaming everything at it.
Yeah,
all
and he
these
said you're yelling
torches.
across the other side of the lake to
And-
the
Yeah.
other guy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can't hear him. So he
Oh.
was blown away by that alone.
Yeah,
Just to,
and how
you know,
clean the quartz came out.
yeah, with very little bloom
Yeah.
on it at
And
all.
it worked it
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
When you guys were designing this, were you thinking we want to make a quartz torch or a boro
No,
torch?
well,
Was there a
no, at
specific
first
type of
Quartz-
glass you were
quartz
intending
was
for?
the ultimate.
That's the
thing. We
hardest
knew
to
That's the
work.
hardest to work. We're looking for a flame that could work quartz faster, and with that secondary oxygen, that's what gave it the more higher density of heat, and that's what originally set out looking for was a torch that had more range to it, you know, more density, you know, more thrust, more drive, you know, and with surface mix that you could work soft glass and everything in between, especially leaded. Leaded is one of the most finicky of all the glasses
Interesting.
that you can work, yeah. Besides aluminosilicate, that's a really touchy glass, and our torches will work that with pretty easy, yeah. So,
So the triple mix, the oxygen injection, that is the key piece here.
Yeah.
And how did you come up with that? Like, was there something that happened one
Just-
day where you were like, oh, what if I try this?
Yeah, that's all it was. Yeah, it's like, yeah. 'Cause
Yeah,
like I said, I was trying to figure how to get drive out of the torch without distorting the flame. And then I figured, well, if we inject it in, that would, you know, be like more
Yes.
laminar flow is, you know, you
Right.
hear that all the time, but this is true laminar flow because now you got everything running equally together and we can
Was there
control it.
something that inspired that thought? Or was it just
No.
like you were in the shower and you were just
No.
like, oh, maybe?
No, it's just
well, let's
thing.
not go there. Maybe he had some funny mushrooms on his pizza that day, I don't know.
Yeah, something happened, but
But yeah, whatever it was that he figured out
it
that
just like clicked, and
you know.
that, I had that idea, and we went with it. And like he said, you know, I made the parts, and
Yeah.
he put it together, and it worked.
Yeah. And the main thing about that secondary oxygen, which is the triple mix design, was that now we're trapping gas between two oxygens. And if you get to a point on a standard torch, which is one gas, one oxygen control, you get to a point your candles are getting longer, you're pushing the oxygen. At some point your flame reverses where it cools down because the chemistry is out of whack, and don't matter how much more fuel and oxygen push through, you're not getting more heat. Where with the secondary oxygen, with the triple mix, what happens is now when you get to the point where your candles are getting longer, you can't clean them up, you bring that second oxygen on, now it re-leans the flame out. Now you're trapping the gas between two oxygens and burning it more complete, which is giving you a higher density of heat per jet. You know, so
So
a lot
in a
of
smaller torch head, we can run more fuel and oxygen through it and still keep it in a neutral flame. And so that's why our torches are like half the size of these other torches, and they're more efficient because we can burn it so clean. And
yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah, more heat with
Yep.
less jets.
that's
Yep,
why
it
our
burns more
torches are
complete.
so much better on like colors and
Because you have
and heating.
Yeah, so if you have in the flame, range, you have a fuel-rich flame, a neutral flame, and an oxidized flame. Ours goes into another flame, which is like an
Can
extremely high
super
oxidized, and so that's why it's in another realm of itself, that it goes into.
I
So-
know. It'd be interesting if they made a color that you could only work in that flame. Like
Hey
a
there.
color specifically
Uh,
designed for that.
Believe it or not,
Yeah.
we have been accused of color companies making colors when in the early days when the palette of borosilicate was still in its infancy and not really advanced yet, where they would come out with these crayon colors or venturines, moss green, which Trapman used to make in the early days, where they weren't stabilized enough, and
They could work it on our torches, but not on the, they could work it on our torches, but not on the other torches.
Yeah, and so we've been accused of, oh, well, you know, these color companies are making colors that can only be worked on your torches. And, you know, we had nothing to do with it. It's just that our torches were
torches
able to
did
do
it.
it.
That's what people were using, and that's what was
Yeah.
working.
Yeah. And one of the first stories we ever heard like that was when we were just beginning. There was a guy in Washington State, and I think it was Washington State, where Paul Troutman was, I think he was out of there, or was he out of Oregon? No, I'm trying to think, somewhere else.
Somewhere out west.
Anyway,
Yeah.
somebody got one of our torches out there and was working at moss green with our torches, and they were getting really good results with it because it didn't like to be buried deep. The moss green compatibility problems with the original first moss green, and also the color, how it would come out was not always stabilized. And so there was this guy that actually ran with our torch that moss green, and he was so wound up that he went to Paul Troutman and showed him, look at this. He goes, and when Paul Troutman saw it, this is the story he gave us, and he said when Paul Troutman saw it, he's like, where'd you get this glass, you know, this coloring? And he thought somebody else figured out that formula for that to stabilize that color. And then the guy was telling him, no, this is your color worked on this type of torch in GTT, you know. And so then that's how things started really going. And like I said, when we came out in 1998, you know, the colors in the borosilicate palette were very
Limited,
you know, and then it started getting more.
Sort of opened the door for
Yeah.
them to start making more exotic
So
colors.
98 is when you first allowed the
Yep.
public to buy this thing.
Yep.
Well, that's when we first came out,
Yeah,
because
first came out.
what ended up happening was really interesting, is that we had that scientific glass blower doing all our testing. Once we realized we had, you know, something, then 1994 we started with our patents, getting ready to go. And we started off, and when you get into the patent field, it's shark-infested waters all the way. It's a maze of, you know, hurdles and stuff to jump through. And so we started off, and we're going along, and it always seemed like a long time to get the word, what, you know, okay, well, you know, the patent board, you know, review board wants you to clarify this or change this language or whatever, so you have to get back in there and resubmit, and, you know.
It's
so
a long iteration cycle.
Oh, yeah, it was brutal. So ended up, we were going along with this one patent attorney, and all the way till Christmas of, what was it, Christmas 97?
Yeah, going
New
in.
Year's of 98. And I'll never forget, we knew we had something that definitely was different than anything that existed out there. And then what ended up happening was, right before Christmas of in 97, we get a letter from our patent attorney saying that it was his opinion that what we had was not patentable. And you talk about
That's 3 years in.
you talk about getting your guts ripped out and just going down, like feeling depressed and everything. And that's basically what happened. I'll never forget when we got that letter and saw that. My brother went right to bed. He was depressed. And
Yeah,
me,
depressing, yeah.
yeah, I sat there just staring at the letter. I'm like, this is it. It's over. It's done. We're done. But I kept staring at it like a zombie, like just looking at that letter, and I was like, it
can't be.
I can't. Yeah, it can't be.
Didn't compute.
And I can't give up. It's like we're too far into it. We had so much time, so much money into this
And we
thing.
knew that
And
guy
we
that was
knew.
doing our testing for us was flipping out over what we had.
Yeah, he was bouncing off
Yeah,
the walls.
so we
and
knew
it
there
was
was nothing
his,
like it.
yeah, his reaction is what kept us going on. So I'll never forget that we started sitting down and analyzing. And me and my brother, I kid you not, we barely crawled out of school, straight C's, D's, and F's. So don't give up. You know, if we can do it, you can do it. You know, anything you want to do, you can do. And believe me, it wasn't that we were dumb or stupid, and you know, it was just that school was not our thing. It was like we'd be sitting in school, it felt like jail. You know, we'd be like looking out the window and like, wow, you know, it's like
Because our minds were everywhere else on that.
but in school,
Yeah.
you know, learning about, you know, pi equals, you know, 3.14.9999, whatever that is.
Yeah.
What do I need to know that for, you know? And so anyway, the thing is that we're like, okay, you know, we're in the middle of this thing with, you know, this patent thing, and here this guy is. You go in his office, and it's all this wallpaper with, you know, ribbons and seals and stuff, and you know, hanging on his walls. And we're like,
Yeah,
and
right.
who are we? We're just, you know, two little, you know, commoners, peasants, you know, going in there, and how are we going to go up against this, you know, big guy? You know, it's got all this background.
That's the
behind him.
expert in his
Yeah,
field,
he's the expert.
supposedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so anyway, the way we went into the patent attorney the first time was very simple. We had writing drawings basically on a napkin. We had rough drawings, rough sketches on paper, and we had working models because we were already dealing with that scientific glassware. And when we went into the patent attorney, we were like, okay, we have working models, rough drawings, rough language, wording of what this is, and you know, all that in a shoebox, and walked in and said, here, put this together for us. And either he saw, you know, sucker written across our foreheads or something, whatever it was, he just decided, you know, I don't know if he was just taking us for a ride to nowhere, you know, but it just seemed like he didn't take us serious, is what it seemed like. Yeah, like he had better things to do, and to get an answer out of the guy was always like pulling teeth, you know. And 6 months later, you might hear something out of him. Yeah, well, we're gonna revisit this, and I need to get more clarification or whatever. So basically, he did say, this patent attorney did say to us, he goes, in a roundabout way, how much do you believe in what you have, and how much money are you willing to throw at it, is what he was saying to us. And you know, we're landscapers, you know, we didn't have the expendable money to, you know, throw around. You know, we had to make sure we had enough money stored up for our bills in the winter, this and that, you know. So yeah, it was scary. And so what ended up happening was when he sent us a letter of non-patentability, we thought that was it. So we started going over the language of patent. Me and my brother started getting together, and well, here he says this, here he says that, and now here's, you know, this conflicts with this, and you know, we started figuring out the language of the patent. And then by the time it was done, we called them up and we go, this was right between Christmas and New Year's of 97, 98. We called them up and we said, hey, you know, we want to go over something with you, and we'd like to come in. Well, they were shut down for that time, but he said, all right, he goes, come in on this day. He goes, I'll be there for a few minutes in the shop, you know, or at his office. And he goes, I'll hear these out, see what we got. And so next thing was, we take off, go to his office, and he's running around, getting stuff organized and ready to go, I guess to go off to the islands or whatever. And our lives were hanging in balance as far as this torch, ever seeing the light of day. I mean, it was that close. If we would have just thrown our hands in the air and walked away, it would have never happened. And quit was not in the word quit was not in our vocabulary. So go in, and the way we always dealt with that patent attorney was we were very sheepish around him because we think he's the big, big guy. He's
Yeah.
gonna,
That's what he
navigate us
went
through
to
this.
school for and
Yeah.
everything, yeah.
So next thing, what ended up happening was I have a bunch of paperwork, and my brother wrote stuff that we wanted him,
To answer questions.
And so he gets done running around the office, comes in the room we're sitting in, and he sits down at the front of the table, the head of the table, and next thing he goes, okay, guys. He goes, I'm all ears. He goes, what do you got? And when I pulled my papers out, sat him on top of the desk, and his attitude, he looked over at me and goes, huh, he laughed. He goes, I see you got some questions for me, and the way he laughed was like, how, dare you peasants dare to question my authority? Well, I went from this like, sheepish, fuzzy little sheep sitting in that chair to a coiled up cobra when I saw him laugh at us like that, like how dare you question me, And that was it. That's the spit in the eye and the fire in the belly. I need it. And I just, okay, this page, this paragraph, you tell me what it says here. And he starts reading and he gives his opinion. And he's like, oh, well, I feel that this is, conflicting prior art, this and that. And, okay, if that's so, you read this page, this paragraph, this and that. And he starts reading, doesn't say nothing, starts reading and goes back, reading. And the guy looks up and he goes, oh, I missed that. I retract my statement of non-patentability. It is patentable. Let's go, guys. Let's put this together. Oh my God, me and my brother were like, oh, I was like, so
do anything to celebrate?
there was no celebrating.
No, I told
No.
him after we got out of his office, I
No,
told
no,
him,
well,
my brother, I said, let's get rid of this guy and let's get another patent attorney.
yeah. So
Or second, even though he's telling us it's patentable now,
Yeah.
I said, let this guy, I don't trust him. no more.
He lost his credibility.
Yes, yeah.
big time. And so
Yeah.
the worst thing he said to us was, he goes, I'm learning as I'm going along. Can you imagine that?
And this is the biggest patent attorney in our area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when
So
he
we got
did that,
another patent attorney, and
put
in
him under the
one day, we
microscope.
knew what we had was patentable.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
All
it's
those years
amazing. All those years
wasted.
wasted of just hanging there for that
Yeah.
long and being, taken on a boat ride to nowhere,
Yeah.
a wild goose chase and stuff. And so we got hooked up with this other patent attorney out of Philly. And next thing, it was like one day the guy calls up, goes, it appears nothing's standing in your way. Goes, what do you want to do? I'm going,
And we're like,
Oh, my-
disbelief.
it's like 10 o'clock. I go, and I was still sleeping, and I had to go get my brother, and we came up. I said, hey, Wall, I said, patent attorney called from Philly. I said, he said, there's nothing in our way. What do we want to do? I was like, oh my gosh. He's like, so after we got our bearings and stuff, and then next thing, we set up a meeting the next day. We called him back, set up a meeting for the next day, and
Started it.
started it off,
Yeah.
and we put it together. 6 months we were patent pending, and 6 more months after that we were full patented. So by '98 we had our patents ready to go. So that's the thing. Patents were the most critical thing because very important to have patents. And then so after that.
Well, let's take a quick break.